Hey, Coach. So glad you found the video. Make sure you subscribe and like. Make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Let me help you put banners and national rankings and all those things in your gym. Go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. It's a community of like-minded coaches. We just got off an hour and a half call. Come over and join us, and let's head off to the video.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. First of all, let me apologize for my voice. It's basketball season. I have a
I didn't mention that when we were chatting offline. Yeah, it's a little hoarse.
it's a little hoarse. I
Yeah.
have a lozenge, if you can hear it. So I'll
So
try
we're
to do the best I can.
just talking loud on the court, calling in plays, coach. Is that what
Yes.
it was?
Correcting. Yes,
Yeah.
correcting in the proper manner. All right. Welcome to Coaching Youth Hoops, episode 41.
41. Can you believe
Yeah,
that?
usually we don't do the episodes, but it's episode 41.
Yeah, let's do it. You know what? It's exciting about that is I look forward to doing these, right? And we've been getting great feedback from coaches, a lot of great suggestions and things they want to hear and talk about. So we appreciate all our listeners and your feedback. So yeah, we love doing it. Hopefully that comes through.
Well, and that's where we get a lot of our ideas.
Yeah.
Because before we came on, both of us were just talking about our teams and all that kind of stuff.
Frustrations
So
of the seasons, ups and downs.
for the last 47 minutes, we've been
Yeah.
venting to each other. Yes.
By the way, if my team is listening, I do love you guys. You guys are awesome.
Oh, that's going to be the first thing I say to my guys yesterday, because we lost a tough one yesterday. It'll be, because I do love them. I mean, that's probably part of why it hurts when
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we were talking about.
I told we had a tough loss. We lost by 4 points the other day. I told you we shot the ball horribly. And I told them, I said, my speech after was really quick. I said, I'm so proud of you guys. You held that team 20 points less than they normally score. So great job. We didn't turn the ball over. But we shot 16%. So you can't win that way. But once your head hits the pillow, forget about it. We're on to the next game and planning come back Saturday. That was a comeback on Saturday. We'll practice hard and just get back at it. That's all you can do.
You're such a nice person.
Appreciate it.
I did the go in the locker room, scold them, leave the locker room, come back into the locker room. Like,
oh wow, really?
I had one of those last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And half our school's under construction, so I couldn't walk where I normally walk. So it was
As I said, as my the coach that I worked with, who I learned how to coach from, said, nothing ever good happens in a game.
That's true.
It's true, right?
All right. So what's today's topic?
Today we're going to talk about being a parent coach and the uniqueness that that brings. And having your especially obviously with youth coaches, a lot of them are they're doing it because their kid is on the team,
right?
And it's a balance of I'm your parent, but I'm also your coach, and for this next hour or whatever it is, I'm your coach, right? And I want you to respect me as much as the other players do. And my kids always used to say, it's like, you're harder on us than the rest of the team. I'm like, I kind of have to be. That's what I didn't want to show favoritism, because I didn't need that criticism, right? I got enough other things that that was that we get criticized for, so I didn't need that. But I think one of the hardest things too, especially as I think about my daughter, is how much you push them as a coach. And we do it. I absolutely love coaching my kids, and I still coach my daughter. She's in high school now, and I'm the varsity coach. She's on JV, but it's fun seeing her in high school and having part of that experience and being part of that experience, right? An inside part of that experience. But I think the challenge always is the amount of, you push them too hard, right? And then, they're teenagers, so they're going to do the opposite, and you don't push them enough. Then you're the basketball coach, and it's like, your daughter can't shoot very well. Aren't you the coach? It's like, so it's this balance that you always run into. But at the youth level, Steve, I'd love to hear, like, you've done it, I've done it. How do you balance the dad and coach?
Well, first of all, at the youth level, I tried to do it as little as possible because I was coaching my team. But I ended up having to do it in middle school. I think the easiest thing is if you have an assistant coach that you trust. I did that at the youth level and I did at the high school level because you're right. I think sometimes we're harder on our own kids. And I vividly remember there were times that my assistant coaches were saying, you got to put Drew in. What are you doing? Like we
Yeah.
need like I almost went the other way. And because you have these you have like these two little things on your shoulders. One's the dad talking to you, and then one's the coach talking to you, and sometimes they conflict.
Yeah.
And definitely more critical of him. Yeah, I think that's a difficult thing. At the young levels, they're all playing about the same. So really playing time wasn't really an issue. As they move up, sometimes playing time can become a little bit of an issue.
That's
and
right.
That's where that mentor can help a little bit.
Yeah, what I always had, I always say to my assistant coach, like, I don't coach my daughter or my son. I have my assistant coach coaches them. And literally, if something comes up where I want her or him at the time to do something, I actually tell the assistant coach, can you go talk to them? Can you have
Right.
them do this? Because one, it's your kid, and they'll be like rolling the eyes and this, that, and like, okay, dad, so even at the youth level, that's what I did. I'm like, if I had 10 kids, I say I coach 9, and my assistant coach, is helping me coach the 10th one. That thankfully I had really good kids, so it never was an issue, but I didn't want it to become an issue.
Right.
And
Right.
if you don't, so what do you do if you don't have an assistant, right, with you? A lot of youth coaches don't have assistant coaches, right?
I know.
And you just have to be true to yourself, meaning, if your son or daughter is a great player, then play them, right? But if they're not, and you want them to be, and they're getting more playing time than somebody
Right.
else, then you just got to be true to yourself in that sense. And because you're going to get criticized, and you're even going to get criticized if they're a great player and they're in all the time, right? But even if they're helping you win, right? You're winning because they're a great player, they're a great shooter, they know how to play the game. You're still going to get criticized. So no matter,
The
so
easiest is if they're the best or the worst.
Right, true. That's right.
It's harder when they're the 6th best player on the team.
Yeah.
It is harder because, like, where do they fall then? Are they playing more than they should? Are they playing less than they should? Because you've got home telling you they should playing more. And then, but that was good. We had that discussion when junior, like, mom was mad that he wasn't playing more as a junior. And I was so proud of my son because he stepped up and goes, stop, that's dad's job. He decides who plays, blah, blah, blah. It was a great discussion.
Yeah.
He was disappointed. He wanted to play more.
Yeah.
But here's a little bit of advice I give to parent coach too, is, and this was the rule in our house, that once we left the gym and we got to the car, I was dad. It used to be home, but then the car ride home wasn't always very enjoyable. So he changed it. It says as soon as we got in the car, dad was on, and I wouldn't bring it up unless he brought it up.
Yeah, that's
my
smart.
daughter didn't end up playing basketball, but so yeah, I think you got to separate. Like, I never, like, Sunday afternoon, I'd be in watching film. If he came in and watched it and wanted to ask questions and talk, great. If he didn't, then we didn't talk about it. I was dad. We're home.
Yeah.
Like, so as a youth coach, I think that's even more important, to be honest with you. That separation, it's like, fine, you're a coach at the Little League field or you're a coach at the basketball court. Great. But as soon as you get to that car, unless they bring it up, don't be saying, hey, here's how you should be following. That's my personal opinion.
I totally no, that's absolutely right. We had that very similar rule to that. And I think, looking back, and if you're in it right now and you're coaching your kids, I will tell you this, it goes super fast. And it's a grind. It might be a grind right now for you, but you will definitely miss it. And you enjoy that special time with your kids, because blink of an eye, it is over and they're in college.
Right.
Right. So
and then you really miss them.
And you really miss them. So I would say, don't be too hard on them. They're kids. Remember, they're kids and they're learning the game. And you do have to strike that balance between a parent and a coach and how much you push them. And just be true to yourself and be honest with yourself that if they're a great player, play them. If they're not so great, don't try to force playing time on them. Just love on them and encourage it, just like you would any other kid on your team. And set those, I think you're right, set those guidelines of, okay, when we get in the car, right, I'm your dad.
Right.
Just
and
like
with that special someone at home, set some guidelines too.
Yeah, exactly. But
no pillow talk.
No pillow talk, that's right. I think the important thing is for any parent, though, coach or no coach, is that car ride home. All you have to do is say, I loved watching you play today.
Boom.
And that's right. I think that's just really important, because don't criticize the coaches. They're doing the best job that they can. Of course, if they're complete buffoons, but that's a different story, where they're ranting and raving and different situation. I think most of you guys listening get the difference, but unless you're out there and in practice with that coach, just encourage the situation, encourage the coach. If you're going to help though, or if you want to help, and then that's a different story. But
right.
I love that. Coach, I think this is
here's the takeaway for all of you. That's exactly what you should do when you get in the car. Go, I love watching you play. It's so much fun. Blah blah blah. Yep. Everything should be positive.
Yep.
At that point, because again, they're 10, they're 9. Like, there's
the situation I run into now though is really kind of different, which is my daughter. I'll do speeches for the JV and varsity team. We get up the team together, and she comes home, and if she wants to get me in trouble with mom, she'll say, you know what dad said today, and she'll exaggerate a situation. I love my daughter. So that's always an interesting discussion, right? Yes. She laughs about it because she likes to see mom get all worked up about maybe something I said at practice, and that she exaggerated.
Yes.
Anyway, no, and see, that's the fun part about being with your kids and on the inside, and you get to see her grow up and interact and with their friends, and that you wouldn't have that inside look, right?
Right. I know it. I tell people it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, and it's also one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done. And I was able to coach my son in 2 varsity sports.
Volleyball, right?
Too. Yeah. So, and then I had him in class. I probably spent more time with a high school boy than most people do. My other advice to youth coaches would be, don't coach them year round. Let them hear other voices. If maybe it's little league, maybe it's AAU, maybe it's football or something. I just think it's important to hear different voices. It's a part of their growth. And again, that's the part of the parent, is we're trying to help them grow as people. If they're only hearing your voice, they got to leave the nest at some point, people. And you want them to hear other voices, and they won't always be good voices, but then those courageous conversations at home can happen. Like, how are you going to talk to the coach? What do you need to say? All of those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think you nailed that too. That is really important, that they do hear those other voices. And like you said, even if they're not good voices, that is a learning experience, because when they get into life, they're not always going to have a good boss, right? So how do you teach them to power through that? you know, you can't, and then, you know, don't just be always negative. Oh, that's the coach's fault, right? It's like, no, let me teach you how to deal with the situation.
You're not going to like everyone you work with. Sorry.
Yes. Right.
So how are you going to get along with them? How are you going to coexist? Like, not everyone can run, you know, single businesses by themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just being real. That part of the growth of a coach as a teacher, and part of you as a dad or a mom, is to teach them some of those life skills, I think.
Yeah.
My
Totally
opinion.
agree.
All right. Great. Till next week, Coach.
Till next week, Coach.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, one thing.
Hey, Coach, so glad you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and like before you leave. And also go over and check out tryouts.com for coaches who want to get better. It's got everything and a roadmap for you to become a better basketball coach. So go over and check it out. And let's head back to the next video, wherever that would be.